I always thought my life was a steady river, flowing predictably through the years. My name's Daniel, and I'd been married to Clara for 12 years. She was the kind of woman who turned heads, sharp cheekbones, hazel eyes that flickered like a storm, and a laugh that could melt ice. We'd built something solid, or so I believed. A house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the driveway, and a rhythm to our days that felt unshakable. I worked as a structural engineer, spending my hours designing bridges and skyscrapers, while Clara ran a small boutique downtown, selling handmade jewelry and vintage dresses. Our evenings were quiet. Dinners at the oak table I'd refinished myself, conversations about her latest designs or my blueprints. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Then came the shift. Started subtly, like a hairline crack in concrete you don't notice until it's too late. Clara began staying late at the boutique, claiming orders were piling up. Her phone started buzzing more often, and she'd tilt the screen away from me, smiling faintly as she typed. I didn't think much of it at first. Trust was the foundation of US, wasn't it? But one night, I caught a whiff of something unfamiliar on her scarf. A musky, woody scent that wasn't mine. She brushed it off, saying a customer had spilled cologne during a fitting. I nodded, swallowing the unease, but the crack widened. Weeks passed, and the signs grew bolder. She'd come home with her hair slightly mussed, her lips a shade too flushed. She'd hum tunes I didn't recognize, and her stories about the shop felt rehearsed, like lines from a script. I started paying attention. One evening, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. Dinner for 2 at a place we'd never been to together, dated for a night she'd said she was working late. My chest tightened, but I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed proof, something undeniable, because the thought of her with someone else was a weight I couldn't lift without certainty. That's when I saw them. It was a Tuesday, gray and damp, and I'd left work early to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. I parked across from the boutique, but the lights were off, the closed sign swaying in the breeze. Then I spotted her, stepping out of a sleek black car 2 blocks away. A man climbed out after her, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline like a movie star. Ryan Gosling. Yes, the Ryan Gosling. My wife was laughing, her hand brushing his arm as they ducked into a dimly lit cafe. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, the takeout growing cold on the passenger seat. My mind spun. Ryan Gosling? Here? With Clara? It was absurd, impossible. Yet there he was, in the flesh, charming my wife. I didn't move for what felt like hours, though the dashboard clock said only 20 minutes had ticked by. The cafe's windows glowed softly, and through the glass, I could see Clara leaning toward Ryan, her fingers tracing the rim of a wine glass. He was smiling, that half-smirk I'd seen in a dozen films, the one that made women swoon. My stomach churned. This wasn't some random fling with a local nobody. This was a betrayal on a scale I couldn't fathom. How had my wife, my Clara, crossed paths with a Hollywood icon? And why? I drove home in a daze, the Thai food untouched. That night, she slipped in after 11, her cheeks pink, her voice breezy as she kissed my forehead and said the shop had been chaos. I played along, nodding, asking about her day, but my eyes tracked every move. How she avoided mine, how her scarf carried that same musky scent. I didn't sleep. Instead, I lay there piecing it together. Clara had always been ambitious, dreaming of her designs gracing red carpets. Had she met him at some event? Was he filming nearby? I needed answers, but confronting her felt like stepping off a ledge. I wasn't ready. The next day, I called in sick and turned detective. I rifled through her desk at home, finding nothing but sketches and receipts. Then I checked her laptop, left open on the kitchen counter. Her email was a goldmine. Messages from a RG, with vague subject lines like, Tuesday plans, and can't wait to see you. One had an attachment, a photo of them at a vineyard, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. My hands shook as I stared at it. Ryan Gosling, in his casual perfection, holding my wife like she was his. The date was 2 weeks ago, a day she'd claimed a supplier meeting ran late. I dug deeper, searching her social media, her texts, anything. Nothing explicit, but the clues were there, coy replies, emojis I'd never seen her use with me. Then I found it. A hidden folder on her cloud drive, buried under shop inventory. Photos, dozens of them. Clara and Ryan at restaurants, parks, a hotel lobby. One showed her in a silk dress I'd never seen, his hand resting on her thigh. My vision blurred. This wasn't a fling. It was a secret life. And I'd been blind. The weight of it crushed me. For days, I moved through our house like a ghost, cooking dinners I barely ate, nodding at Clara's lies. She didn't notice my silence, too wrapped in her glow, her skin brighter, her steps lighter. I wondered how long it had been going on, how many nights I'd sat alone while she was with him. Ryan Gosling. The name burned in my skull. He wasn't just a man, he was a symbol, everything I wasn't. Famous, rich, untouchable. And Clara had chosen him over me. I started tailing her. It was easy enough, she never suspected. I'd park near the boutique, watching as that black car pulled up, Ryan stepping out in sunglasses and a leather jacket. They'd vanish into galleries, bars, places I'd never taken her. Once, I followed them to a hotel downtown, the kind with valets and chandeliers. I stood outside, rain soaking my coat, imagining them upstairs, laughing at the fool she'd left behind. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional, intellectual, a rewriting of our history. She'd traded our quiet nights for his dazzling world. I couldn't confront her yet. Anger simmered, but I needed a plan, something to match the scale of her deception. I researched Ryan, his schedule, his projects. He was in town filming a thriller, staying at a rented estate an hour away. Clara must have met him through her boutique, maybe designing something for the set. It didn't matter how. What mattered was the knife in my back, and how I'd pull it out. That's when the idea struck. Revenge couldn't be small, not with stakes this high. I'd hit them where it hurt most. Their egos, their perfect little bubble. I'd expose them, ruin them, in a way they'd never see coming. But first, I needed more details, leverage. I bought a tiny camera online, the kind you hide in a button. Next time she went out, I'd plant it in her purse. I'd see everything, hear everything. Then I'd build my trap. The camera arrived in a plain brown box, and I spent an evening testing it. Crystal clear video, audio sharp enough to catch a whisper. Clara was oblivious, humming as she watered her plants, her phone buzzing with messages she didn't open in front of me. That night, she announced another late shift at the boutique. I smiled, kissed her cheek, and watched her leave. As soon as her car pulled away, I grabbed her spare purse, the one she always took on work nights, and slipped the camera inside, nestled between her wallet and keys. My hands were steady, my mind cold. This was engineering now, precise, calculated. She came home at midnight, her eyes bright, her excuses flimsy. I waited until she slept, then retrieved the purse. The footage was a gut punch. Ryan picked her up outside the boutique, his car purring like a predator. They drove to a rooftop bar, the city sprawling below them. She laughed at his jokes, touched his hand, leaned into him as the wind tousled her hair. He called her my muse, and she blushed. My muse, words she'd once used for me, now stolen by him. They sipped cocktails, their knees brushing under the table, and I watched, frame by frame, as my marriage dissolved. The next clip was worse. They left the bar, driving to his estate. The camera caught glimpses. Marble floors, a grand piano, his voice smooth as he poured her wine. They danced in his living room, her head on his chest, his hands low on her back. She whispered something I couldn't hear, and he grinned. The footage cut off when she set the purse down, but I didn't need more. My wife was living a fantasy, and I was the footnote. I saved every second, backing it up on a hard drive I hid in my toolbox. Evidence was power, and I'd use it. But how? A public scandal might hurt her, but Ryan's fame would shield him. Another charming rumor for the tabloids. No, it had to be personal, devastating. I remembered a story Clara once told me about Ryan years ago when we'd watched one of his films. She'd said he was obsessive about his privacy, hated leaks about his life. That was my angle. I'd shatter his world, and hers with it. Days bled into weeks as I refined my plan. Clara's absences grew longer, her lies bolder. She'd started mentioning a big project with a mystery client, winking like it was our little game. I nodded, playing the doting husband, while inside I forged my revenge. The footage piled up, dates at hidden bistros, late-night drives, stolen moments in his estate. I had hours of them now, a library of betrayal. But I wasn't ready to strike. Timing was everything. I studied Ryan's life, digging through interviews, paparazzi shots, anything public. He was meticulous, a man who controlled his image like a director controls a scene. Clara, too, had her pride, her boutique, her reputation as an artist. My revenge would dismantle both. I'd turn their affair into a spectacle, but not the usual kind. No screaming matches or courtroom dramas. This would be art, a cruel mirror held up to their faces. The idea crystallized one night as I stared at the hard drive. I'd create a film, a mockumentary, starring them. I'd use the footage, edit it with narration, subtitles, a soundtrack that mocked their every move. I'd make it look professional, leak it online, and let it spread. Ryan's precious privacy would implode, and Clara's boutique would become a punchline. But I needed more than video. I needed context, something to twist the knife. So I went deeper. I hacked her email again, finding a thread with Ryan about a surprise he was planning. A custom necklace she designed for him. A gift for his next premiere. Perfect. I'd used that too. I contacted a friend from college, a sound engineer with a grudge against the world. He agreed to help, no questions asked. We started editing, splicing the footage into a narrative. The Muse and the Star, we called it. Every laugh, every touch, framed as a betrayal. My voice would narrate, calm and cutting. I'd mail copies to Ryan's team, Clara's customers, and let the internet do the rest. The river of my life had burst its banks, and I drowned them in it. The editing room became my sanctuary. My friend Jake, the sound engineer, turned his basement into our studio. Dim lights, tangled cords, and a massive screen where Clara and Ryan's secret life flickered in high definition. Jake didn't ask why I was doing this, just grinned and cranked the volume as we layered my narration over their stolen moments. My voice was steady, almost clinical, describing their rooftop dances, their whispered promises, like I was dissecting a bridge collapse. Here, the Muse abandons her roots, I'd say as Clara giggled at Ryan's flattery. Here, the Star builds his castle on sand. Jake added a mournful violin track, turning their romance into a tragic farce. We worked late, fueled by coffee and spite. The footage was gold, hours of them oblivious to the camera in her purse. I'd caught Ryan reciting poetry in his kitchen, Clara sketching him by candlelight, their hands brushing over her necklace design. It was intimate, nauseatingly so, and I used every frame. I titled the mockumentary The Muse and the Star, a nod to their pet names, and structured it like a film. Opening credits with their smiling faces, a montage of their love story, then a slow unraveling. Subtitles twisted their words. Her "I've never felt so alive" became "I've never been so disloyal." His "You're my inspiration" turned to "You're my distraction." I wasn't just exposing them, I was rewriting them. Jake suggested a scene where I appeared, a grainy shot of me at home, staring out the window while they cavorted. "The Forgotten Man," he called it, and I agreed. It wasn't enough to show their betrayal. I wanted the world to feel my erasure. We finished the rough cut after 2 weeks, a 30-minute masterpiece of pain and precision. But it needed a hook, something to make it viral. That's when I remembered the necklace, Clara's surprise for Ryan's premiere. I turned it into the centerpiece. I dug through her emails again, finding the design. A silver pendant shaped like a crescent moon, engraved with their initials. She'd poured her soul into it, and he'd gushed about wearing it on the red carpet. Perfect. I'd leaked the film just before the premiere, tying their affair to that necklace. The press would devour it. Ryan Gosling's secret lover, a small-town jeweler, exposed in a scandalous tell-all. Clara's boutique would crumble under the spotlight, and Ryan's pristine image would crack. I smiled for the first time in months, imagining their faces when it hit. Timing was critical. Ryan's premiere was 3 weeks away, a glitzy affair in Los Angeles for his latest thriller. I tracked his schedule online, interviews, fittings, a press junket. Clara had started hinting at a business trip that weekend, claiming a client needed her in California. The pieces fit too neatly. She'd be there on his arm, the necklace gleaming under the cameras. My stomach twisted, but it fueled me. I'd strike first, before they could bask in their triumph. Jake and I polished the film relentlessly. We added a climactic scene, Clara presenting the necklace to Ryan at his estate, her voice soft as she said, "It's us, forever." I overlaid it with a heartbeat sound effect, then my narration. Forever lasted 12 years, until she found a brighter star. We burned copies onto sleek USB drives, each labeled the muse and the star in Sharpie. I compiled a list, Ryan's agent, his publicist, every tabloid I could find. For Clara, I targeted her customers, email addresses scraped from her boutique's newsletter. I'd mail them anonymously, let the chaos unfold. But I needed more than digital ruin. I wanted them to feel it physically, viscerally. I remembered Ryan's estate, that sprawling mansion where they danced. A plan formed, dark and meticulous. I'd been an engineer for 15 years. Bridges weren't my only skill. I could rig something, nothing lethal but humiliating. A sprinkler system tweak, maybe, to douse his pristine lawns in sewage during a party. Or a power surge to fry his security cameras, leaving him exposed. For Clara, I'd hit her boutique, flood the pipes, ruin her inventory. Small disasters, perfectly timed with the film's release. I tested the waters. One night, while she slept, I slipped into her shop with my tools. The pipes were old, easy to tamper with, a loosened valve here, a cracked joint there. Water would seep slowly, unnoticed until it was too late. I felt no guilt, only purpose. Back home, I finalized the USBs, slipping them into padded envelopes. The premiere was 2 weeks out. I'd mail them soon, then watch the dominoes fall. The envelopes sat in a box under my workbench, each one a missile aimed at their lives. I waited, letting Clara spin her web of excuses. She was radiant now, buzzing about her trip to California, showing me sketches of new designs I knew weren't for me. I played along, asking questions, nodding as she described a fictional client. Her purse camera kept rolling, catching last-minute trysts with Ryan. A picnic by the lake, a midnight drive. I added it all to the film, tightening the noose. A week before the premiere, I mailed the USBs. I drove to a post office an hour away, wearing a cap and gloves, dropping them in batches to avoid suspicion. The tabloids got express shipping, TMZ, page 6, the works. Ryan's team got theirs too, labeled urgent, confidential project. Clara's customers received plain envelopes, no return address. I pictured the moment they'd watch, the shock rippling outward. My hands trembled as I drove home, not from fear, but anticipation. The boutique flood came first. I timed it for a quiet night, knowing she'd be distracted packing for LA. The pipes gave way at 2 a.m., water pooling under her displays, soaking her dresses and jewelry cases. She called me in a panic, sobbing about ruined stock. I rushed over, feigning concern, helping her mop up while silently marveling at the chaos. "It's just bad luck," I said, patting her shoulder. She nodded, tearful, never suspecting my hand in it. Step 1, complete. Ryan's turn was trickier. I'd scouted his estate days earlier, posing as a delivery guy to map the layout. The sprinkler system was my target, accessible through a maintenance shed. I returned under cover of night, tools hidden in a backpack. A few adjustments, a reroute to the septic line, and his manicured lawns would reek by morning. I finished just before dawn, slipping away as the first birds chirped. Step 2, in motion. The film would be the final blow. The premiere was 3 days away when the first ripples hit. Clara was in LA, texting me vague updates about her client. I'd seen the latest footage, her arriving at Ryan's rented villa, the necklace in a velvet box. She'd beamed as he tried it on, the crescent moon glinting against his shirt. I burned that scene into the film's finale, my voice icy. A token of betrayal, worn with pride. The USBs must have landed by now, and I waited, refreshing gossip sites, my pulse hammering. It broke on TMZ first. Ryan Gosling's secret romance exposed in mystery video. The headline screamed, with grainy stills from my footage. Clara laughing, Ryan's arm around her. The article called it a leaked documentary, hinting at a scorned lover's revenge. Social media erupted, fans speculating, haters cackling. I scrolled X, watching the hashtags multiply. Hashtag Muse and Star, hashtag Gosling scandal. Clara's boutique got dragged in by noon. Customers posted about the USBs, calling her a homewrecker, though Ryan wasn't married. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ryan's team scrambled, issuing a no comment that only fueled the fire. Then came the estate disaster. A neighbor tweeted about a foul stench, photos showing brown sludge coating his lawns. Gosling's paradise turns to poop, the caption read. I grinned, imagining his horror. Mr. Perfect, undone by a plumber's trick. Clara called me that night, voice shaking. People are saying awful things, Daniel. Someone sent videos of me and a friend. I don't understand. I soothed her, hiding my glee. We'll figure it out, I lied. The premiere loomed, and I knew they'd walk that carpet together, necklace and all, under a storm of questions. My film was everywhere now, YouTube mirrors, Reddit threads. Commenters dissected it, praising the genius editing, calling it a modern tragedy. I'd done it, turned their affair into a public crucifixion. But I wasn't finished. One last twist waited, something to seal their ruin. The night of the premiere, I watched it unfold on a live stream. Red carpet lights blazed, cameras flashing as Ryan stepped out, Clara at his side. She wore a sleek black gown, the crescent necklace shining like a beacon. He'd kept it on, a bold move or a desperate one. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions. Who's the muse? What about the video? Ryan's smile was tight, Clara's face pale. They posed, clinging to dignity, but the crowd's murmurs told me my film had landed. Hashtag Muse and Star trended worldwide. Back home, I sipped whiskey, replaying the moment. The boutique was a wreck, her reputation in tatters. Customers boycotting, locals whispering. Ryan's pristine image was muddied, his privacy shattered by a story too juicy to ignore. But I'd saved the best for last. Months ago, I'd found a buyer for our house, cash, no questions. I'd signed the papers quietly, funneling the money into an offshore account. Clara didn't know yet, but she'd returned to an empty shell, our life sold out from under her. I'd also tipped off a niche blog, one obsessed with celebrity scandals. They dug deeper, finding Clara's old Etsy listings, linking her to the necklace design. The story exploded anew. Gosling's lover crafted his downfall. Her art, her pride, became her shame. Ryan's team cut ties, distancing him from the toxic affair. She'd have nowhere to turn, no home, no shop, no star to cling to. I pictured her alone, staring at the wreckage, and felt a cold satisfaction. The stream showed them retreating inside, the premiere overshadowed by my revenge. I shut my laptop, packed a bag, and left. The river of my life had swept them away, and I'd built a new bridge, alone, unburdened. They'd betrayed me with glamour. I'd buried them in it. The whiskey burned my throat as I drove into the night, free at last. The road stretched dark and endless as I drove away from our old life. I'd left no note, no trace. Clara would find the house bare, the locks changed, her key useless. The sale had gone through days ago, the buyer a quiet investor who didn't care about my reasons. I'd packed only essentials. Clothes, my tools, the hard drive with every frame of their betrayal. The whiskey buzz faded, replaced by a clarity I hadn't felt in months. I wasn't running. I was shedding them piece by piece. Clara called the next morning. I saw her name flash on my phone as I sipped coffee in a roadside diner. I let it ring, imagining her panic. She'd landed back from LA, expecting me to pick her up, to soothe her after the premiere's chaos. Instead, She'd find a hollow shell where our home once stood. The voicemails piled up, first confused, then frantic. Daniel, where are you? The house. What's happening? I didn't answer. Let her stew in the ruin I'd crafted. Online, the fallout grew. The premiere had been a disaster. Ryan dodging questions, Clara shrinking beside him. Clips of my film played on entertainment shows, pundits debating its authenticity. Fans turned on Ryan, calling him a hypocrite. Clara's boutique page drowned in one-star reviews. The necklace, once her pride, was a meme now. Wear this and lose everything, one post quipped. I scrolled X from a burner account watching their world collapse. My revenge wasn't loud or violent. It was a slow, relentless tide. I headed north, toward a cabin I'd rented under a fake name. It was remote, tucked in the woods, a place to vanish while the storm raged. I'd planned this for weeks, a clean break from the man I'd been. Clara thought she'd traded up, chasing Ryan's spotlight, but I'd turned that light into a spotlight of shame. The cabin silence was my reward. No more lies, no more musky scarves. Just me and the trees, and the echo of their downfall. A week passed in the cabin, the days blurring into a rhythm of solitude. I chopped wood, cooked simple meals, let the quiet sink into my bones. My phone stayed off, but I'd rigged a satellite link to track the aftermath. The story hadn't died. Tabloids dug into Clara's past, painting her as a gold digger who'd snared a star. Ryan's team spun damage control, claiming the film was fabricated. But the footage was too real, my narration too raw. The public didn't buy it. Clara's boutique shut down. A local paper ran a photo of the flooded storefront, her sign crooked and water-stained. Local artist's dream washed away. The headline read. I felt a pang, not guilt, but a faint echo of the love I'd once had. Passed quickly. She'd chosen this, stepping over me for Ryan's glamour. Now she had nothing, no shop, no home, no him. Sources said Ryan had ghosted her, retreating to his LA bubble, leaving her to face the mess alone. I'd mailed one final USB before leaving, this one to her parents. They'd always liked me, called me Steady Daniel. The note inside was simple. She traded our life for this. Watch and decide. I pictured their faces, her mother's shock, her father's quiet fury, as they saw their daughter twirl in Ryan's arms. It wasn't enough to ruin her publicly. I wanted her roots severed, her safety net gone. They hadn't called me, but I didn't expect them to. Silence was their judgment. The cabin grew cold as autumn deepened, mirroring the steel in my chest. I'd won, hadn't I? Their affair was ash, their egos shredded. Yet something gnawed at me, a need to see it through, to witness her unraveling firsthand. I'd stay hidden a while longer, let her think I'd vanished for good. Then one last move, a final twist to bury them deeper. 2 weeks later, I broke my isolation. I drove to a town an hour from the cabin, bought a prepaid phone, and called Jake. He answered with a laugh. Man, you're a legend. They're still talking about it. He filled me in. Ryan's film tanked at the box office, critics citing the distraction of the scandal. Clara had surfaced on a friend's social media, looking gaunt, her eyes hollow. She's crashing at some chick's place, Jake said. No one's seen her in public. I asked him to send me updates, photos, posts, anything. He did, and I studied them like blueprints. Clara's friend had posted a cryptic rant about betrayal cutting deep, hinting at a fight. Good. She was alone, unmoored, just as I'd planned. Ryan, meanwhile, had fled to Europe, spotted at a cafe looking grim. The necklace was gone, sold or trashed, I didn't care. It had served its purpose. That night, I drafted my final play. I'd kept one ace, a recording from the purse camera, a moment I hadn't used. It was Clara, alone in Ryan's villa, talking to herself after he'd stepped out. Daniel's so predictable, she'd muttered, adjusting her hair. This is living. Her voice dripped with disdain, a dagger I'd held back. I edited it into a standalone clip, my narration simple. The muse speaks her truth. I uploaded it to a throwaway account, tagged every gossip site, and watched it spread. Within hours, it was everywhere. "Clara's confession!" screamed the headlines. Fans tore into her, cruel, petty Clara, mocking her boring husband. Ryan's silence only stoked the fire. He looked complicit, weak. I leaned back in the cabin, the fire crackling, and let it sink in. This wasn't just revenge, it was annihilation. She'd mocked my steadiness, my love. Now the world mocked her. The clip was the killing blow. Clara vanished from the grid, no posts, no sightings. Her friend's account went private, and whispers said she'd left town, maybe the state. Ryan resurfaced in London, dodging paparazzi, his charm dimmed. The necklace scandal clung to him like damp rot. A fashion blog called it the cursed jewel of 2025. My film had become a cult hit, dissected on forums, hailed as a revenge masterpiece. I didn't care about the praise. It was done. I stayed at the cabin through November, the forest blanketing me in snow. The hard drive sat locked in a safe, a relic of my war. I'd won, but victory tasted bitter, like ash on my tongue. I'd dismantled their lives, Clara's dreams, Ryan's mystique, but mine was gone too. The house, the dinners, the quiet nights, all sold or burned away. I was free, yet untethered, a bridge with no endpoints. One morning, I found a letter slipped under the door. No stamp, just my name in shaky script. Clara's. "Daniel, I know you did this. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please, let's talk." A phone number followed. I stared at it, the paper trembling in my hand. Sorry? After everything? I pictured her, broken, pleading, the muse reduced to a beggar. It stirred nothing. No pity, no rage. Just emptiness. I tossed it into the fire, watched it curl and blacken. She didn't deserve my voice. I packed up that day. The cabin had served its purpose. I'd lingered too long. I'd head west, start fresh, new name, new life. The money from the house was enough to carry me far. Clara and Ryan could rot in their wreckage. I'd built my revenge, watched it soar, and now I'd walk away. Spring found me in Oregon, a small coastal town where no one knew my face. I'd taken a job at a lumber mill, simple work that kept my hands busy and my mind clear. The ocean roared nearby, a steady pulse that drowned out the past. I'd cut my hair, grown a beard. Daniel the engineer was gone, replaced by a man named Tom who fixed machines and nodded at neighbors. The hard drive stayed buried in a lockbox, unopened. News trickled in slowly. Clara had resurfaced in a tabloid interview, claiming she'd been manipulated by fame, begging forgiveness. No one bought it. The comments shredded her. Ryan's career limped along, smaller roles, less buzz. The scandal had scarred them both, permanent as a brand. I didn't gloat. It was over, a blueprint executed, a structure collapsed. One evening, walking the beach, I saw a crescent moon rise over the waves. It reminded me of her necklace, their symbol. For a moment, I felt her. Clara's laugh, her touch, the woman I'd loved. Then Ryan's smirk flashed in, and the memory soured. I kicked a stone into the surf, let the tide take it. They'd betrayed me with a fantasy, and I'd turned it into their nightmare. The scales were balanced. I kept walking, the wind sharp against my skin. The river of my life had carved a new path, solitary but mine. Revenge had been my architect, and now it was done. I was no hero, no villain, just a man who'd rebuilt himself from the rubble. The moon climbed higher, and I left them behind, step by step, into the night.